for the last 20 years, my job has been to make people cry. That's what I do for a career. I make grown adults and children cry. I'm sorry, I apologize now. Because I've been working at Pixar for over 20 years, helping create those stories and characters that, yes, make people cry and also make people laugh as well, right? That's what I've been doing. I love doing this. I love that, creating this experience for people. But let me just back up for a second, and let me go back to where my story really begins, which is in a toy store. Because my mom and dad, when I was born, they owned the largest chain of toy stores in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's not a bad way to grow up, right? It's your birthday. Mom and dad say, go to the store, pick yourself something up, right? Probably the only bad thing is you don't really know who your true friends are, or who just wants to play with your complete collection of Star Wars toys. But my mom and dad actually didn't start the toy stores, though. My grandfather and grandmother owned and ran our family toy stores before my parents. And it doesn't stop there. My great-grandparents owned and ran the toy stores before my parents, before my grandparents. And then my great-great-great-grandfather, Charlie, that guy with a cigar in his mouth, he actually hated kids, and he hated toys. He owned a cigar shop in San Francisco. But everybody else in my family, it's always been about toys, about creating an experience for people when they would come into the stores to feel entertained, to feel delighted, to feel like they're a kid. My grandfather up there, he's 91 years old, Marine, World War II. He could still beat me up with one arm if he chose to. And then that's my dad with the slinky, and he never wanted to get into the business. He's not the Smurf up there, it's the other guy. My dad, actually, when he came back from Vietnam, he went to his dad, the Marine, and said, Dad, I really, really want to be a Disney animator. Yeah, a Disney animator. And my grandfather, the Marine, said, are you kidding me? You can't make a living as an artist. Plus, you need to continue running the toy stores. So my dad reluctantly decided, I'm going to let my dream pass. I'm not going to pursue it. Until I was about 3 years old. This is a photo of my dad, me, and my grandmother. My dad was very much into hair, obviously. And, but when I was about 3 years old, my dad was home with a stomachache. And to be able to cheer him up, I did the only thing I could do, which was I drew a picture for him and of him with a stomachache. You can see the swirls in his square body. And when my dad saw this drawing, he made a decision for me for the rest of my life, which was going to be, you will live my dream. You are going to be that Disney animator. So at 3 years old, my dad, he already started my training to do this one day. There was the normal things like take me to see, animated Disney movies, take me to the museum, give me art products to draw with. But he pushed it farther. My mom would drop me off at school, at 11 a.m. In the morning. And then my dad would pick me up at 11 a.m. because there was the movie we needed to see that day that was very important for my education. Now, his favorite movies, though, were science fiction and horror. So, taking your kid to see Poltergeist when they're 5 is a really bad idea. But all of this love that he had for animation and art and film, it rubbed off on me. And by the time I was in high school, I knew I want to be a Disney animator. This is what I want to do. And I had heard of a school that was about 7 hours away from San Francisco. It was in Los Angeles, and it was called CalArts. Now, this school was the one that Walt Disney started before he passed away. It's the school where if you want to do anything in animation, this is the school you go to. Now, I ended up going to school with a lot of friends that I later worked with, but while I was at the school, I made a student film my first year, and I have this kind of, work ethic problem where I have a strong work ethic, and I made a student film. It was an animated film, and it got seen by a company that had a TV show that had been on the air for about 2 years at this point. And in my first year of college, they offered me a job to come in to be an animator on The Simpsons. Believe it or not, I was only 19 years old when this happened. Pretty crazy. So I did what was the logical thing. I left school, and I went and worked for The Simpsons. And I had accomplished my dad's dream of being an animator. And then one day, I discovered how the stories were being put together at The Simpsons. You can probably recognize back there that's Conan O'Brien, right? The team at The Simpsons that were writing these stories, each episode, it was like a combination between people that went to Harvard, comic strip artists, comedians, a whole mixture of storytellers. And every week they put together an episode. And I fell in love with this process. It made me realize that while I love animation, and I love movies, and I love design and color and music and everything that goes into making a movie great, the part I was really in love with was the big picture of the whole thing, the story, how to make people feel something. Well, this led me to, at the time, a very small animation studio, only made up of about 80 people, and I ended up working on the very first CG animated film. And it was during this time that I'm animating on Toy Story that I get the opportunity to start working on the stories that they were making. And through this process, I realized that while, like I said, all the aspects of making a film or a TV show are important, it all hinges upon a great story. A story about a rat that has the dreams of being a French chef, or a film that makes you feel that at any point of your life, you can have a zest for life again, right? All these great stories that we've made at Pixar and Simpsons, they are great stories because they evoke feelings. They make us feel something. And I remember when I went to college, that is what they told me on the first day. They said, no matter what you do, whether you're going to be a sculptor, an animator, a filmmaker, whatever you're going to do, make people feel something. Make them laugh, make them angry, make them scared. But whatever you do, make people feel something. And I realized how important that was even for my family in their toy store. That when people came into the toy store, what my family was always trying to do was make people feel something, to feel like a kid again. And when I think about great companies, they do the same thing. When you go into Tiffany's, you have a feeling, right? It feels unique, beautiful, sophisticated. And storytelling goes beyond just the narrative. The color, the typeface of the logo, the visuals can tell a story. Another company I think of that makes me feel something is Tesla. When I'm in a Tesla, I don't own a Tesla, but I wish I did, but it makes me feel like there's an optimistic future, right? It leaves me with a feeling that this aesthetically pleasing and cool-looking car, it gives me hope about the future. And I think that's really what we're all trying to go to, is make people feel something, reach them with a feeling. So I've been, so fortunate to work at the Disney company for over almost half my life. It's a company that I love, I don't want to embarrass myself, but my wife and I, we actually did take the Disney cruise on our honeymoon. So kind of lets you know how much I like Disney. And you know why I like that company? Is because every aspect of that company is about making people feel delighted and entertained. It goes beyond a mission statement, right? It goes beyond the plot of a movie. It all comes down to how do you want to make people to feel? And I'm not the only one who loves things that are Disney. And you know, they say that people who go to a Disney movie or the Disney parks or a Disney store or buy a Disney toy, 70% of them are going to come back for more. And why? It's because they want to feel that same initial experience again. But the problem is that not everybody does this. Not everybody thinks about how important it is to reach people with a feeling, one feeling. And our world ends up looking like this: mixed messages. People don't know really what to make us feel, so they just bombard us with so much information. And I don't want to hand out this statistic, but I'll just tell you anyway. They figured out that about 4 years of your life is going to be wasted deleting and going through spam and irrelevant advertising. Isn't that great to know? You know, even when we are putting together a poster for one of our movies, we have to think to ourselves, are we giving people the right feeling? You know, when people have an attention span of about 8 seconds, they're driving in their car, they see one of the posters for a movie, and they see a rat with a carrot. What is he? He's a lover? He's a dancer? What does that mean? And that was our first poster we put out. And we realized quickly that is sending out the wrong feeling. And then we redid it with this one. A rat who's dying to be a chef. And we see him holding that cheese and all the fancy knives. And now we get it. It's about creating the right feeling. I also notice when people don't know what kind of feeling they want to create for their film or for their visual images or their company, then we go into this. We don't know what to do, so let's just do what everybody else is doing. And I'm telling you, it's like, okay, if it's action, all right, if it's a romantic comedy, let's do this. And this isn't just for films. I see this happen all the time with just regular advertisements. These are all different ads for watches, but they all blend in. So you really want to think, no matter what you do in life, okay, art, a startup, create a company, make sure that you are leaving people with a feeling. And when you know what that feeling is, that becomes your North Star, so that every decision you make, from the logo to your website to the characters in the movie, that everything is working towards that one goal. Like I mentioned at the Disney company, it's all about entertainment and delighting the audience. And everybody from the guy cleaning the sidewalks at Disneyland, are drawing pictures of characters on the sidewalk, to the creative executive and CEOs. Everything goes back to this one feeling. So whatever you do in life, always ask yourself, what do you want people to feel? What do you want to leave with them? So I'm going to show you one clip that just came out recently. It's very moving, and I want to share it with you real quick.
Dad, I'm ready.
Did you look outside?
Take him.
When the rain's blowing in your face and the whole world's on your
Sure, coming down.
She'll be there.
I could offer you a warm embrace to make you feel my love. When the evening shadows and the stars appear, there there is no one there to dry your tears. I could hold you for 1,000,000 years to make you feel my love. Go to the ends of the earth for you
Hey.
to make you feel my love.
Because in the end, no one is going to remember what we said. No one's going to remember what we did. But people are always going to remember how we made them feel. Thank you.